Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and I am just doing a hobby hangout. We're going to have a whole bunch of content creators, from what I understand, joining us here in a little bit. So we already got ourselves kind of set up here, so I'm going to not waste any time and go straight to the downward cam here. And I also have a good friend starting with me, is Jack.
Hey, that's me.
It is, in fact, you. So, friends, I'm going to pull up my phone here next to me. And if you have any, this is going to be, we're just hanging out today. This is a long hangout day. So, if you have any questions, thoughts that you'd like answered from us, go ahead and ask. I have a picture that I meant to put up on Instagram right before this of all the Seraphon stuff that I got. And so as you can see right here in front of you, I got 10 Saurus Warriors. And so we're starting small. Because those older sculpts are like pretty mindless to put together, so it doesn't require as much concentration. Whereas if I do other stuff on the stream, I'm like hunting down parts and all those things. Yeah. I just realized that I never updated my stream stuff on YouTube, so give me 1 sec. Let me do that. Anyway, Jack, while I'm doing this, why don't you tell everyone what we're working on today?
I am working on a plethora of stuff for my Cities of Sigmar. I recently, we did a hobby haul thing last week. And I started painting up my Nomad prints right here. I was having a problem with his hair. I didn't know what I picked, but Doug suggested I do redhead. And I really like it. It definitely stands out, and it breaks up the blue and green kind of monotony. That's my color scheme, Seahawks. But a lot of sameness, and this definitely makes him stand out, and I really dig it. So I got the Nomad prints, and the reason I'm painting him up is because I have 30 Wildwood Rangers. Doug is actually painting 20 of them up right now.
Yep.
One right now. And so I wanted to make that War Scroll Battalion. It's not that competitive, but hey, I want to play Living Cities with 2 magic items, and that's what you have to do that. So
yeah.
So I'm painting up this Nomad print, and then I will segue into my Huracanum, which this is kind of what I'm going for. This is the base thing. I'm going to have it pulled by Drakkar.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have Balthazar Gelt, because he's getting green stuffed by our friend Cranky Old Gamer, who was on the stream yesterday. He's green stuffing him, so I think it's going to be cool. And I'm definitely making all, it's going to be all flat realms. So it's going to be up-to-date Huracanum for the Mortal Realms.
I dig it. And also, while you were talking, Vince joined us. Vince, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. And I see, Jack, where you went wrong. It's when you chose Living City,
as
opposed to clearly the best city, which is Tempest Eye, which is what I just finished working on stuff for, but also just finished getting what I need for that base not very good battalion just to get the second magic item. The great struggle of Cities of Sigmar, finishing the units you don't really want to do just so you can get a battalion that you don't really like that much.
Yeah, yes, that is true. And Tempest Eye is actually my main. This is just for the channel. I get to not waste money, obviously. I get to justify spending a lot of money. Say, oh, it's a studio army. But for my 2020 competitive list, I am definitely going Tempest Eye. I have 40 Iron Drakes sitting here that I'm working on, doing a big batch paint there. And when I found out that if your general's Durden, they become battle line, I'm like, ooh, I have an Aethermatic Navigator as my general, and I put him in my boat. Yep. Now my my command traits are measured from the boat, and so it's like a big old footprint.
Nice. No, I understand. Living City. Sorry, I apologize. Is actually certainly my second favorite city. Like, I didn't get rid of. I was almost ready to pull a Doug. I was this close to pulling a Doug. Yeah, because I have a whole painted Sylvaneth force. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I liked it. I was super excited when Sylvaneth came out. I've just never really cottoned to playing the army because of the tree thing. I hate the forests. I think they're the worst terrain piece, and I don't want them or want to put them on the table and want to mess with them.
Yeah. And
so I had this whole Sylvaneth force, and it's just sitting there. And I like owning a bunch of armies, but I was like, you know what? I'm legitimately never going to play this. and most of my armies I still put on the table. Like, I have 13 armies now, and most of them see the table.
Gosh.
But this one I was like, I'm just not going to play it as long as those trees are a requirement. So there's no point to this. Maybe I'll give it away. I'll sell it off. Like, it's really, I think, nicely painted. It's not super amazing, but it's nicely painted. And then they came out with Living City, and I was like, never mind, I'm good. I got to keep all these because you never know what 2 or 3 units. Boom, I'm in like Flynn right there. That's a L'Oreal joining. That could be 2 Durthus. You don't know what's going on.
You never know.
Oh, that's fine.
One day I might need 6 steam tanks. You never know.
Yeah,
They're sitting up
exactly.
there.
I do have 6 steam tanks. That's absolutely true. That's not a false number. I own 6 painted steam tanks. Yes.
Ooh.
I'm not Ben Johnson with 9, but 6 is pretty good.
Ooh.
Is that the all steam tanks list? Is the 9?
Yeah, 9 is the number when you go all steam tanks because you do 4 steam. It's a really easy math. The steam tank commanders are 250, so 4 times 250 is 1,000, and the regular steam tank is 200, so 5 times 200 is 1,000, and there you go. Bada bing. There's your army. Easiest math ever for army building.
I like it.
Put a thermal rider cloak on the main general, and you've got a flying tank, and you're good to go.
All right, so gentlemen, I need a little bit of help here. So I have 20 Saurus warriors. What weapon should I give them?
I think they shine under. Are you gonna play Starborn or are you gonna play Coalesced? Or do you want to like either or? Because under Coalesced, you can get the Sunclaw worst. Is it Sunclaw? Yeah, the Sunclaw Star Host.
Yep.
And that gives them extra rend, and so you can have regular guys with 2 rend. And I'd say, and so that's pretty good.
I agree completely. Anytime you can have a basic troop that's like doing something valuable for you, like being bodies, being important to the construction of the army, that somehow achieves -2 rend, it's pretty good. I would direct you to a little army called Bone Daddies, and they're Petrifex Elite.
Kick them off the screen.
That was just for the both of you, and say that they have found some moderate success, I would say, by having 2 rend on their basic troopers. So there you go.
So that would be the clubs. Yep, done.
Yep. So with that start collecting box, doesn't it come with like an odd number of troops?
Yeah, so it comes with 12, and obviously you build lists in terms of 10. So I'm just going to keep the other ones on sprue for whenever I come up with an idea for a conversion or something.
Well, exactly. Like that's just people writing other dinosaurs or whatever you want to have, Yeah, absolutely. Boom, you get 2 extra. Go to the toy store or the dollar store, get yourself a $1 dinosaur, repaint it, throw a Saurus on top, bam. Alpha on Carnosaur, there you go.
I kind of hate that.
I've seen people take the bits from the Troglodon and kind of have it coming out of water, like it's swimming on the base. I thought that was kind of neat.
Look, all I'll say is I understand why you say hate that, Doug, because most of the time when you see that, it wouldn't be great. Now, what I'll say is, at the same time, just as a change, I know you never got a chance to see it, but my favorite display board I've ever built, which is like saying my favorite time I ever stepped on a nail, but my favorite display board I ever built used the Play School Roman gladiatorial arena. Yes, this is a real thing that exists.
Of course. And
I turned it into a gladiatorial arena for the Daughters of Cain, and I think it was pretty successful overall. So sometimes you can turn those crappy things, you repaint them, you weather them, that kind of stuff. It can work.
I'd like to see it because I feel like when I hear people talk about using dinosaur toys, I only ever see the lazy version of like where they literally just glue, yeah,
and that's awful. That's just straight awful. No, I mean like a full repaint, and stuff like that. I think it could get there.
Okay.
One of the most beautiful miniatures I ever saw entered into a competition was this bust of Gandalf the Grey. Okay. It was emotional, expressive. He had like a little tear in his eye. It was meant to be the moment when Frodo says, like, "I'll take the ring," and Gandalf is really sad, because he knows sort of the fate of the ring bearer. And that bust was actually a tiny thing that was gotten out of one of those little machines where you put a quarter in it and you you turn the I'm talking about, you turn the crank and then a gumball thing comes down. That's what that was originally, and he just spent the time cleaning it up and putting on the work. So Sometimes those things can get there.
You could have got a Miami Dolphins helmet sticker or
Right.
the Gandalf.
Or Air Gandalf. Yes, exactly.
I just imagine him sitting there for like half an hour with like a fistful of quarters, just like, I need this one.
I do believe that's actually what happened. Yes, is that like he wanted just that one, and it was supposed to be simple, but it took him like $3 or $4 of quarters to get that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who plays Kings of War, and he was showing me his collection, and it was just beautiful. Like I think it was one of the like Japanese themed armies or whatever, and it was just this. And he was like, "Oh no, this is an action figure that he repainted because they didn't actually have a model for it, or a model he didn't like." And like as someone who just didn't know, I thought it was just a beautiful thing. But when he told me that, I'm like, I didn't think less of it. Because I still had the reaction like, this is a really cool model.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is just like we know that that's not a thing. It's like
Right.
So we know that they don't make a big, Brachiosaurus or whatever.
Sure.
This is not canon.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Why don't they make like a Brachiosaurus or a that kind of a dinosaur, like one of the herbivores? I guess because they're not angry enough. But still, that'd be kind of cool.
Because GW hates Seraphon. Didn't you hear the news from everyone on the internet?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love Seraphon players. They're my favorite.
I'm now one of them. I'm gonna start complaining more.
Oh, man. Yeah, I guess I am one now too. I have like 1,000 points of Seraphon. Mainly to ally in with my Stormcast, but
That's just what you're telling yourself so your brother doesn't beat you.
yeah. That is an interesting thing because I'm looking back on it, I used to be protective of my armies as well. Like, especially before the channel and like kind of having to play a lot of armies just for variety. But I remember when you Doug, you started talking about getting into Slanesh, and I'm like, wait, but that's mine. And, there was a point where like 3 of us had Stormcast, and then you kind of stop like feeling like ownership of that army.
Yeah.
And my brother's still at that stage, and he's like, "Why are you getting all the Seraphon stuff?" And I'm telling him, "Oh no, it's ally in. No, don't worry about it." But I'm like, I didn't need the terrain piece to ally in. I got that for myself. It's definitely one of my favorite books. I'm very happy with it. But I was talking to a few Seraphon players, and like they're not. And I was just like, "Oh, that's definitely surprises me." And it just goes to show you can't please everybody.
No. Nope, I've said before that Games Workshop could put a $20 bill in every single box and people would complain about how they folded it.
Yeah. But I have been accused of being too optimistic and positive. So,
Well, in general, I think that's just not a terrible thing. It's nice to be positive about things. That's happy.
Well, I agree. Yeah. That's the thing I do on my channel, where it's just like, how come you never talk about bad things? I don't wanna. Why would I want to?
Right. I don't enjoy dwelling on the negative as much as possible, right? Like we all have plenty of negative things in our life, serious things in our life. With the hobby, I want it to be a celebration of positivity, of things that make me happy, because it does make me happy.
mm-hmm.
So I as well will probably be doing a Seraphon thing, as I mentioned. I'm going to pull out all the old Seraphon I had and see if I can do another Paint an Army in 24 hours video out of them.
Oh, dude, I would love to watch that. Because I just got my airbrush. This is going to be an army where I lean heavily into that.
Very nice, gentlemen. I apologize. My wife is yelling at me. I need to step away for just 1 second. I'll be back. Please continue.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still deciding on colors, but all I have right now for the most part is infantry. So it's not like I'm trying to decide for the big guys, the big monsters.
Ooh, someone said something in the chat, and I want to commiserate. I think it was King something. Oh, King Bread. That your Seraphon book is at your local game store that's closed. That is awful. Do you have it on the phone or the Azir app? While he answers that, I am going to keep painting the shield.
There you go.
So how do you like your airbrush, my friend? Have you just been doing kind of base coats and priming with it so far?
Yes, all I've done really so far is I primed, and then I just did a little bit of like basically I just put a red streak down the center of some of my Gene Stealer cult vehicles because their aesthetic that their loadout is that they have gray armor and then like red graffiti. So I made it look like they were spray painted a red line and everything. So I will show those off when that is all done. But yeah, not much. I need to play around with the compressor a bit more. I need to get used to. Basically, I just needed to lower the airflow. Like it's too strong right now.
Oh yeah, it should be around like 20, 25,
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, you're doing way better than I did because when Greg, Cranky Old Gamer, was on your show yesterday, he mentioned having to airbrush for a year.
Yeah.
And just, I was in the same boat. Like, and I'm not gonna blame Vince, but he definitely.
He's not here. You can do whatever you want.
So like I was watching things and I was like, okay, Vince said I need this. Vince said I'm like watching all his hobby chain videos. He says I need this. I need he suggests getting all this stuff. So I'm just getting all these things. Got this airbrush. Got all these paints, which I still have a ton of them. And then I have all the stuff and I'm looking. I'm like, okay, how come my stuff's not painted?
Yep.
Because you just have to do it. And so I dove in and for like initially I just used my airbrush to Zenithal prime.
Yep.
And just that'd be it. And then I hopped into, all right, let me just paint this. And so because it's like you think, okay, I airbrush. No, you don't airbrush everything. You just airbrush some stuff, and like and then you still have to use your brush to get all the other things. So yeah, I was just like frozen and petrified of it. Like in the hardest thing to learn, and so the best thing I suggest to learn is cleaning. Just make sure you get cleaning down and clean your airbrush. And yeah, that should be definitely a lesson everybody needs to learn. You have to take care of it. Take care of it well and it'll treat you well.
Cool.
Take care of it poorly, you're going to have splatter, you're going to have all the things that you don't want.
Right on. Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with the cleaning. I mean, we'll see next time I boot it on if it's all clogged up, but I feel pretty good about it. Trying to think. I didn't have any real problems. I don't think so. It seems, I don't know. Honestly, just that one night of hanging out with you when I got a chance to use it kind of demystified it a little bit for me. That was nice.
Oh, that's good.
Like, oh, this thing's not scary. King Bread got back to you, said no, he didn't feel like paying for the same book twice, which is understandable.
I feel you. Like I think Doug, you've mentioned this a ton of times. Like you wish you'd get like a discount or something or a code to get it for free on the app. Once you buy the book.
Yep, that's been a discussion for a while. Yeah, well, because they get outdated with FAQs and that kind of stuff so frequently that, maybe if they had like a special edition that they started coming out with Battle Tomes, where you get the normal Battle Tome and like a user code for yourself at a discount.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool.
I am going to be on, speaking of Seraphon, I'm going to be on Doom and Darkness with his, I need to send my army. I have to send him 3 army lists for the breakdown, which I need to do today. I'm excited, but I was talking to some Seraphon players, because I'm just getting into Seraphon, and I kind of feel like, I'm not going to say qualified because I read the book and I played a lot of competitive stuff and I played against the old Seraphon definitely enough times. And so I feel like I can talk about it, but I'm not cold-blooded through my veins. I'm not, my heart doesn't pump lizardmen from the old world. In fact, they were one of my least favorite armies because it was my brother's army and I wasn't, you kind of, it's a sibling rivalry and you hate what you like. But I'm really excited about the list, or about the book. And yeah, I got 3 salamanders down here. Lord Croak, who I love Lord Croak, especially in Stormcast list, man. He is, he casts 4 spells. He can cast the same spell 3 times. And so I'm kind of making this list where it is 2 Star Drakes, Lord Croak, this is a Grand Alliance order. So 2 Star Drakes, Lord Croak, Astrolith Bear, and the Celestant Prime. And it's pretty much just AoE damage, the movie, kind of the army. because you have your breath weapons, and it's table wide pretty much, except for the Celestin Prime.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things, like, I played against Carrie, and her army was built around her general kind of surviving, and she had like a palisade, put him in the corner, and with these new spells where doesn't take line of sight, you're just taking mortal wounds, it kind of just was like, oops, well, I have to rethink this army, because like now this whole thing shakes my army up, just like my Tempest Eye army. I kind of like to hide my general, but now you target him anywhere, so it's like, ooh, maybe I don't want him as my general anymore. I need something
escape.
With more.
Yep.
Or at least give him like a mortal wound protector, like the Ignac scales or something.
Yeah, is that a 5-up?
4. It's under action. So, but then again, I only get 1 magic item, and I want Thermal Rider Cloak. But it's like, I kind of want my guy to live, so maybe I'm thinking Ignac scales.
Yeah, I remember Nurgle has some of those spells that don't have a range or line of sight; it's just table wide. But man, they seem scary, and I like it.
Yeah, who was that? I think it's Rodigus, right? Rodigus has that spell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have Rodigus and you keep manipulating the wheel, you can get a few of those. Not as consistent as like just casting a spell, which is nice.
I can show this on camera. It shows up. So this little guy I'm painting up, if you'll notice, he has a little birdie, which is cool. And I painted the bird to match my Aether Wings, because I'm cool like that.
Because I'm cool.
Because I'm a genius. And another news, me and my brother are playing Path of Glory. Kind of got inspired by Paul Conti, and we just love Path of Glory anyway. But and this is not for the channel or anything. It's just a kind of a thing between me and him, kind of to motivate him and motivate me to paint stuff. And so right now, but I'm not working on any of that stuff. I'm working on this guy. Yeah, I'm up to my favorite part, everybody's favorite part, null oil wash.
That's right. What's your army for Path of Glory?
Cities.
Okay.
Like I rolled for pretty much everything except for I wasn't going to buy anything.
Right. No, you already got a bajillion points.
Yeah. And so I rolled for the city. I rolled Hollowheart, which is the one I did not want to play. But it was like, I've never been too into like Magic. And so I got Hollowheart. I have a Rune Smiter. No. Is it Rune Smiter? The dwarf guy. Rune Lord. Unit of 10 Iron Breakers.
Okay.
A unit of 10 Dark Shards. Celestial Hurricane. And that is what I rolled.
Nice.
And so excited. Fun times.
So I hope you have fun with that, especially with the smaller games.
Yeah, it's quick. I just need to update the Path of Glory book. That book is definitely dated.
Yep. Yeah, I think, and then if they explore some of the design space they've worked on with like meeting engagements, I think it could be really fun.
Ooh, that is a great idea. Just something, something you don't even have to put the book out. You can just do it online. People who love Path of Glory will be able to find it.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a perfect format for getting folks into painting and excited and that kind of stuff. I agree.
It's pretty interesting though for Seraphon Path of Glory. You have to play coalesced.
Really? Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, they won't let you play Starborn, which in some of the missions was like, it's one of those things where you can tell they came up with the Path of Glory book before they came up with the Seraphon book, because one of the missions was have your general escape, and then in the advent of Lord in Space and Time, he's like, oh, we teleport to the edge, I win.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. I had to think about it. I was like, yeah. Let's see. Okay. I'll be much faster with the second round, but these guys are interesting. It's a mixed bag when you're building sculpts that are so old like this, because there's very few pieces and they go together very, very easily. But you gotta gotta make sure I get my little leader and my little standard bearer done.
I was looking so the Cantor blue is the blue I use for my Seahawks color. But if you have, I think it's Leviathan blue for the Doug is painting up some stuff for me, and I'm just giving the Leviathan blue. I think it's the contrast version of that, and it works if you want to use that instead. Leviathan
blue. I don't think I have that one, but I'll check it out.
I was messing around with that because the Citadel paint app is definitely it helped me become a better painter. If people haven't checked that out, I suggest it. I recommend it anyway. It is a very useful tool.
Totally agree. Let's see, got some stuff in the chat. Hey Doug, excited for tonight's live stream, especially with these two awesome gents. Greetings from Germany. Hey.
Guten Tag.
I know, you probably just declared war in some foreign language or something.
Okay, oops. Oh, do you have a link to share?
For what?
The chat.
A link to share?
Like you, then I can forward the link that's in the other chat.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Apologize.
Not a problem. So, I don't think you missed much. We were just asking or chatting about Path to Glory a little bit.
I was sharing the
Never
story.
Heard of it.
It's a thing you skip over in the books.
Exactly.
Oh, is that what that section is? Okay, got it.
I was talked about how I got into airbrushing through Warhammer Weekly in your channel. I was watching. I was a big fan and just watching all the hobby tuning videos, and then I was buying all the stuff that you recommended, and I just had a ton of stuff, and I was like, okay, now how come my army's not painted? And just how like I was afraid like of the airbrush, and then you kind of just have to do it, and just the most important thing I recommend is just cleaning it very well each time. Don't be lazy with the cleaning, because if you take care of the airbrush, it'll take care of you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it's really a pretty fast process to clean too. If you follow like what I showed in the most recent video, where I show you just how I clean it pretty quick and easy. And then the other big secret trick is just always leave water in your airbrush when you're done. If you do that, you'll never, you'll pick it back up and it'll be ready to go. You can just blow the water out and keep going because nothing will ever dry down inside of there. That's the enemy, is getting any kind of dried paint down in that little tiny, very, very tight area.
Good call.
Well, I definitely did do that. I filled it up with some cleaner stuff and just let it be.
Just be careful about leaving. I would be careful with cleaner in there. Honestly, because there can be, like, depending on what your cleaner is, there can be soap and stuff, which could just leave a residue when it dries out completely, right? Just good old-fashioned water, just regular water. That's all you need. Like, you can use cleaner through it and stuff like that. That's all fine. Just if you stick with good old-fashioned water in there, it has less chance to leave, like, a film or a residue in there as that cleaner can sometimes do. So just as a word of warning. Well, that's fine as long as it wouldn't cause a problem unless you literally let it dry out completely.
No, it's not going to do that.
In my basement, that would be, I have to put water in it every day. I'm not using it because I can fill that whole cup up and it'll more or less evaporate in a day. It's like the Sahara over here.
Let's see. What are you working on, Vince?
So at the moment, I am working on, I'm putting together this corn altar thingy. This thing.
Oh, okay. Right on.
I've had it. I needed to get it done. I just finished up the last project, and so I wanted to assemble something that it wasn't going to take any real brain power. since I just finished up a big project that took a lot of time and effort, namely like doing 10 of those custom bikers for my Whirlwind's Edge Tempest Eye army, and those guys took way longer than I wanted to, and I just had to, like what I was doing right before this. It's funny too that my wife freaked out because our dog got out and she was chasing it, and then the dog got in mud, and it was a big situation. Anyways, it's funny because I sat here for 3 hours, working on the video, nothing, quiet, just total solitude, no issue. Then as soon as I join, the madness begins. But
kids Vince, I feel about dogs.
It's that you don't understand them, or you find them to be agents of chaos. Is that what you mean?
Yes. And like I have to deal with them with my job all day, and so it's like, and people don't respect if you're afraid of dogs. Like you can take dogs anywhere. You can take them to restaurants. You can take. Yeah. It's just like you have to accept it.
Correct. That's right. You have to accept it. All of you non-dog people just need to accept it. There's no reason to be afraid. I have 3 golden retrievers that are the nicest dogs in the entire world. But I understand you with what you're saying. You don't know what the dog is when you walk up to it. You don't know if it's going to bite you. I get it.
I've been bitten several times.
I'm sure. Everybody's dog is the best dog, but you don't know. But you don't know when they're not the best dog. I understand.
Yeah, your dog likes you. Your dog doesn't know me.
That's, the dogs are home security in that if anybody even approaches the house, they go nuts barking. But believe me, they are not home security in the attack dog sense, like in a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood type of sense. That's not what's going down. You'll get tackled and licks. I mean, I guess if you're highly allergic to dog licks, you'd be in real trouble. But other than that, my dogs pose no threat.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's see.
So, Vince, you mentioned these home games you have with friends. Like,
yes.
How are these like childhood friends? How'd you meet these guys? And how many?
Yeah, so my group of people that I normally play with, like, I don't ever go to stores. I don't ever. So I don't even know the last time I played at a store, honestly. Because everything I do, I play here at home. And it's friends I've known since, most of the group is people I've known since college.
Okay.
So they are people that were like friends of friends. Basically, I met in college. They ended up becoming good friends, and we just have been playing Warhammer ever since. So it's probably been about a lot of the same people for better part of or 20 years or longer, probably 22 years now. Yeah, because they were all in my original Warhammer armies when we first bought in, and games that Mordheim campaigns and the whole shooting match. So
nice.
Yep.
Did you go?
I don't have to
big
go
into
anywhere.
Mordheim?
Oh my God, yes, man. Are you kidding me? Big into does not describe. I have had multiple big intos for Mordheim over my over my time. Yes.
I can tell. So I know we're around the same age because every time you use like slang, it's I get a kick out of it. So how old are you, Vince?
I am 40. I'm 40 years old.
38. All right.
There you go. Yep, and yes, I'm sure many of the same experiences and reference points. So yeah. Certainly, there, all down to I'm guessing most of the same stuff for Pop and Warhammer and Times and all those kinds of things. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, man, Mordheim is truly a glorious, unique game. It is one of the best things that GW ever put out. The guy who was the sort of designer of it, Tomas, however you say his name, great dude, real nice guy. And I can't recommend it enough for campaign play or otherwise.
Nice. I've been thinking about it more and more because I have been falling head over heels for Necromunda lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I played quite a bit of the Mordheim video game. It's a lot of fun.
Sure.
But yeah.
The big advantage to Mordheim is that at this point there are, decades of fan supplements to it, because much like what happened with Blood Bowl, like the fans picked it up and kept it going to a large degree. And so there's all sorts of amazing additional scenarios and war bands and stuff like that out there, some of which is questionable, some of which is not. But who cares? Who cares? The beautiful part about Mordheim is it's so crazy and so random and so wacky that in general it's pretty tolerant. It's hard to get things that are like truly broken.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I've run here. Here's what I'll say about Mordheim. So in there you have a rating, like your warband has a rating.
Yep.
Okay. And you start with generally a fairly low-ish rating. Most real long-term campaigns, you'll be lucky if you get to like 200, 300. I have had multiple warbands go over 500. Okay, that takes so many games and so much playing because I really love the campaigns. I really love the system. I just think it's just crazy fun.
Awesome.
I'm always curious, like, how popular was it? Because I think I have a weird kind of Warhammer history. I started like in 4th edition, played up until like the beginning of 6th, and I played a little bit of Mordheim, and then I kind of stopped and got back into it in 2017. And like, how popular was Mordheim? Because I'm hearing everybody talk about it, but GW is a company. If they won't make money. If it was popular as everybody says, why did it ever die? It's kind of like,
I like how you say everybody. It's just me and Brent, yes-anding each other.
I just hear it a lot. People espouse how awesome Mordheim was, and I'm like, well, I'm sure if it was that popular, it'd still be a thing.
Boom.
Because the answer is, well, one, keep in mind they closed down all the specialist games, so it was the same. It was victim of what many of the things that happened in that time period were, because they closed down the entire specialist games wing, and so all that stuff went away, right? So Blood Bowl was very popular too, but they still stopped supporting that, and so on and so on, right? Like, the reality is they just changed in the early 2000s, they changed their business model away from the specialist games model, and that caused the shelving of like Mordheim. How popular was it? Insanely popular. Popular enough to support its own magazine for an extended period of time. Remember when they printed physical magazines? Remember when that was a thing? It had its own magazine called Town Crier with like new supplementary rules and stuff like that in it.
I've never heard of that.
Oh yeah, you can still find the old issues. They go, like they go for varying prices. Let's do a little search right now. I'll take a look. Let's find out. eBay. Let's look on the old electronic bay. Mordheim Town Crier. So we can find some collections. There you go, the Town Crier number 16 with the Kislevites. You can get one of those. Oh, 1 minute left. Oh, do I want to buy it now? Oh, $15. Issue number 7 with the Beastmen expansions, $12.99. There's a couple issues for $46, like 3 packs for $46 for the 3 issues. There you go. The entire collection for $356.95. Good deal.
Put in the shopping cart.
Add to cart.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I already have all of them, so.
Of course.
Because I never got rid of them. I bought them all when they came out, and I never got rid of them. Because, see, I don't get rid of those things that I think are going to be valuable.
Yeah, I am right there with you, but I keep even the stuff that's not going to be valuable. Plastic black orcs with the arm raised up. I still got a bunch of them. Like,
oh, sure.
Yeah,
stock
on those is going to skyrocket here pretty soon, I guess. I don't know.
Any day.
It's going to become the new currency. Just watch. Yeah. It's like the Iraqi dinar. It's going to shoot up there one day.
But yeah, I mean, it was what you have to understand, Doug, is that what made it so good. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the game or not. What made it so good is, I think, first of all, I honestly think you would love it and find it to be one of the best experiences of Warhammer you've ever had. Let me not oversell it here, but I really mean that. Just from listening to you talk about the kind of things that you enjoy, like you've said, I enjoy real randomness, like when things can be wacky and stuff like that, right? And you enjoy a lot of narrative, and for things like to have the narrative actually matter, and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's Mordheim. It is wacky, it is random, it is unpredictable. Like, yes, 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 that is exactly what the game is and will do. You know, you'll have a leader who's on a great run, and then sucking chest wound.
Yes.
Neg 1 toughness.
That's
like
what I experienced with the video game campaign. I was like, got this perfect leader, and all of a sudden she lost a leg and an arm in the same round, and I was like, huh. Yep.
And sometimes you can come back from stuff like that. It depends.
Oh, yeah.
The warband is funny in the expansion warbands. There's expansion warbands for everything. My favorite warband ended up making over all of it was Halflings, which was an expansion warband, and I had 2 sets of Lumpen Kroops, the old Dogs of War, which I converted for that. And they were absolute beasts, just straight murderers, because the whole warband could basically go to ballistic skill 5. And ranged attacks are real powerful in Mordheim when you can put people down at range and take them out of the game. And so, like, I had a whole warband full, and Halflings were cheap. Their stats were terrible because they're all like low toughness and just, you know, garbage. But they're garbage models with a ballistic skill of 5. So they're just a ton of gun emplacements. And when you can have like a dozen gun emplacements that anytime when someone comes on the board, even if they poke their head out for even a second, that model is just dead, because they become a pin cushion. And I loved that. My enemy was another warband, which was the Merchants of Araby.
Okay.
Which was just like actual merchants. And their ability was to manipulate the after the game phase. They had like almost no abilities during the game. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like no real things to stand them out. They were just mercenaries and troops and just standard people. But they could manipulate the after the game phase of going and searching ruins and finding currency.
That's
so
right.
That warband will just get super wealthy, super fast, and have all the best equipment and gear and rare items, and they can hire people and everything like that. That's the really power cool. of money is always the best power.
That's awesome. And I assume they're kind of more reserved for campaign play at that point because.
Yeah, because it's all custom rules
right.
and stuff like that. I don't even know what the concept of match play in that game looks like. I've never played it not as a campaign. Easy answer.
Now, Doug, you are up to date on lore for Age of Sigmar. Have Halflings ever been mentioned?
No, not that I can think of.
Interesting.
Unless it was a passing reference I didn't catch.
Maybe they'll be in the El Guzzler Gargant army.
There you go.
I do wonder what became of them, because there was a hanging thread with them from the end times that was rather interesting. Like, they kind of put them in a place where if they wanted to in the future, they could do something fascinating with them. Because at the end of the end times, the Halflings all retreated back into, I don't remember the name of the castle, but into one of the castles with Neferata and Archon and everybody else, like in Sylvania. Mm-hmm. And like the moot emptied out and went to and hung out with all of them, and there was a portal that was supposed to take them to the world beyond. Like that's how all those characters effectively were sort of okay to get there, other than that Nagash, they're innately bound to Nagash, and so if he survives, they survive. So he could call them back. But they had went through this kind of portal that would shield them from the madness of chaos, right? And they had a bunch of Halflings with them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What's going to happen with that? And they never did anything with it. So I hope someday we find out.
Nothing's the answer. Nothing's going to happen with that.
yeah, exactly. 5 years later.
I want my hot pot, so hopefully they... I want to, anybody listening to this, recommend, there's a few videos that Vince had done where he goes into the history of war games. I listened to those, and it helped me kind of bridge that 15-year gap of when I stopped playing to when I got back in. And those I can't recommend them enough. They're on you're on your channel, right, Vince?
Yep, absolutely, yep. I've only ever done 4 of them because they take so much time and research, and I just don't have the time to do them because, I mean, I know they're probably much like what Doug experiences, right? Like when I do them, I'm going and researching because I have to pull together a bunch of sources. So I have to go research, like, what's the background to stuff. I've got to go read third-party sources and pull those down and look for, like, behind-the-scenes interviews and try to find exact dates to everything so I'm not saying something wrong. And they're just a ton of work. It's not a complaint, just a statement of fact.
And there was this the way I know anything about end times. I think you did like it was multiple sits. They were like multiple hours, like a few hours long each.
Oh yeah.
Not Relian. What was
So it was
that?
Kieran. Yep.
Kieran, that's it.
Forge of Wonders. Yep. Myself and then other people. And we did the entire end times, chapter by chapter, all 5 books. Yeah, it's 50 hours.
Oh.
Amazing.
And it's funny too, because if you go watch like the first episode, okay, so like the first one he did, these are all on Kieran's channel, on Forge of Wonders is the name of the channel. But if you go watch the very first video, so this is, keep in mind those books didn't all come out at once, right? The end times didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly. And so they revealed like, and so there were model releases tied to all that too, obviously, right? And so when the first book came out, which was Nagash, and they talk about in there, and one of the first things that happens is you get the initial assault on Bretonnia, right? Because Krell was trying to recover the first sacred artifact to bring back Nagash from the Abbey of whatever, I don't remember the Abbey's name, right? So the Bretonians figured heavily in the first one. And in that first book, right away, Gilles Le Breton returns. Okay, Arthur, it's their King Arthur, who had always been prophesied to return at the darkest hour to save the realm of Bretonia, right? So Gilles Le Breton. And he's back. Right? That he would be back. And like, if you go watch the very first hour, I think even, I'm like, don't worry, everybody. This is going to be fine. Gilles is back. If he's back, that tells you that everything's going to be okay in Bretonia. Not a prediction that's aged well.
As I predicted. That's awesome.
Slightly off on that one. Missed it by that much.
Yeah. Well, I listened to Garage Hammer when that was all going down, because I started right when End Times Nagash dropped. And just listening to their coverage where it's like, at the end of the last book, they're like, oh, so it actually is over. And yeah, literally the first line of all the books is End Times. I was like, huh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. By the time we got to the third book and I saw where this was going, my prediction was absolutely like, no, this is going to go south. Like, all this is going to blow up. And exactly, like, the first words of the book are, basically like, this is the recounting of the end of times, right? Like, they told you straight out from the beginning. They weren't, they were just like, yep, this is all going down, folks.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. This will not end well.
Let's see.
But I loved that whole series. I thought it was great. There were some parts that were pretty slow and kind of not as interesting, but
I didn't
for the most
as
part,
much for the Elven one.
Really,
yeah.
That is my favorite one, because Cain is written like a Shakespearean tragedy. That's what I love about it. Like, to me, it's the one that has actual character. It's a lot more like, it's a lot less battle scenes. I mean, they're all full of battle scenes because it's just like, then this person killed this person killed this person, then they all have a big fight, and who cares? Boring. But that one reads a lot more like a Shakespearean tragedy, where like Tyrion and Teclis and everybody makes bad decisions constantly, and they just dig themselves deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole of their own hubris. They are their own unmaking in the end. From denying Malekith the throne when he was due it because he was the true Phoenix King, to then, Teclis plotting and kidnapping Tyrion's daughter or niece or whatever it was, and then so on and so forth, and Tyrion deciding to draw the sword and then getting possessed by the spirit of Cain, and just like over and over and over again, these guys just keep making the wrong decisions. It's great.
My favorite was the Thanquol.
Thanquol is a great book. It is. Hey, look, it's super fun to watch lizardmen die en masse. I like that.
Yeah. I sit here as I build a bunch of lizardmen.
Sure. No, that was great revenge. A long time ago in the story, the Sotek, the Seraphon god, ate the horned rat at one point. Okay.
Okay, I'm following.
Like that, their god ate our god, like ate him, and then the horned rat got better. Okay. but I've had a grudge about that for a long time. You can't just eat our god. That's not cool.
Yeah, tit for tat.
So I was very happy to see some vengeance.
Let's see. You got some stuff here in the chat. Let's see. Anybody, if you have any questions or topics you want us to talk about, go ahead and throw it in the chat for me. Eric says, just wanted to shout out to Jack for being a delivery person during the apocalypse. Love the content. Thank you.
It's very interesting because everybody I meet is so positive and like happy to see me and stuff. So I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna get through this as a species. We're gonna do it. And then I hear all the horror stories about like people at grocery stores getting in fights and stuff, and it's just I'm too busy to go grocery shopping. So
yeah, the key is never let the few anecdotes, disrupt you over the actual truth that you're absolutely right on your first thought. And hey, I know I'm always happy and thankful for any delivery person that comes to my door in this time period. So you're doing good work out there, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was gonna say you're doing the Lord's work, but it's just Jeff Bezos.
Oh, that's funny. My mom's a Jehovah's Witness, and she keeps like messaging me about how this is prophecy. And I'm like, will you stop, please?
Shut it down. Oh, it's funny. Okay, so we have let's see. Got some questions here. Sean Blake, Vince, can you explain the Timmy, Johnny, and Spike thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is something I also don't know much about. So yeah.
Sure, happy to. So the first thing I would direct everybody to is to just literally search out those terms. If you just type that into Google, you'll find the article by Mark Rosewater where he originally introduces them. But Psychographic Profiles and Psychographic Profiles Revisited. I also have a full video explaining and detailing exactly what they are when in reframing with Warhammer. So you can also reference that video as background beyond what I'll say here. But the short answer with Timmy, Johnny, and Spike is psychographic profiles are an important part of sort of marketing research. And they're not who you are, they're why you do things. They're sort of a what is the psychological utility that you gain by performing an activity, okay? And how you how you choose to engage in that activity says a lot about sort of the value that you extract. So let me make this quite real. I'll put this in terms of, I'll make this simple. In general, marketing tends to break it down into sort of these three categories. And in magic terms, Mark Rosewater is the person who coined the Timmy, Johnny, Spike. And I feel it applies well enough to Warhammer to just be carried over directly. Timmy, they're all asking the question of sort of why, right? Or what is the experience you hope to draw? So what Timmy wants is to experience something. You, Doug, are a Timmy, almost through and through, like myself, okay? Because just from the way you talk, you like narrative, you like big monsters, you like randomness. These are all sort of hallmarks on the Timmy road, because each of them is a unique experience. Timmy wants to walk away from the game having experienced something they find cool. Okay. Right? And that can manifest in a couple different ways. Oftentimes, Timmy is seen as like the person who likes to play big, stompy monsters and isn't very good at the game, but that's quite disingenuous and unfair. There are plenty of good players who are Timmys. But Timmy values, it's not that not all these people might value winning. That doesn't really matter, though. They value other things perhaps more, right? So Timmy values experience. So you mentioned, Doug, like doing something cool in Necromunda where, you kick a flamethrower on and lay down a template and melt a bunch of people's faces all of a sudden, right? And roll hot and everybody just melts. And you would find that quite rewarding just because you weren't expecting it to happen, right? Or some random roll goes in your favor and it just creates some super cool moment where you're like, whoa, what just happened there, right? That's Timmy. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep. Guilty.
Right. I am also a Timmy, very much so. Like, I'm probably 75-25. Most people are actually amalgams of most of these. I'm a Timmy Spike. Like, part of me does still like to win very much so. That's the Spike part. Spike draws value from not just from victory, but through what Spike wants to do is Spike wants to use the game to show their skill. Okay. For Spike, a skill testing game is meant to be skill testing, right? The point of this, so if you look at the way like Rob talks often, the Honest Wargamer, he talks like Spike a lot, right? Like, this is a skill testing game. It is meant to be played, in a way that it is a war game. We're here to, at the end of the game, there is one winner and one loser. And I would like for that winner to be me. That is Spike, right? Okay. Because to them, it's a proof of their skill, right? That kind of a thing.
Is this MitGo tropes or MitGo personalities applied to Warhammer?
Correct. Yes. This is the psychographic profiles. Yes, applied.
Yes. Sorry, I had one more join in. So this is Greg, the cranky old wargamer, Vince, and Jack. Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. So, the last one is Johnny. Spike is generally pretty straightforward. Most people who go to a tournament have a little bit of Spike in them, but that doesn't mean that you're a whack player. No part of Spike necessarily means you're a bad player or a mean player or a whack player.
Of course, these are not moral statements. They're just
correct.
Yeah,
motivators.
Yep. I know some people who are super Spike and some of the nicest people I've ever played against, right? Because they want to win, but they also very much value like the social contract and that kind of thing, right? They would see it as an absolute violation if they cheated or acted in an inappropriate way or weren't incredibly kind or hid any knowledge from you, because that would take away from their victory.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last psychographic profile is Johnny. Johnny wants to express his intelligence through playing. Tom is mostly Johnny. Tom is like 75-25 Johnny Spike. Johnnies tend to be the list builders, the innovators, the people who look for unusual tech, who love unusual units, who love a challenge of something that no one else is playing, who love really, really synergistic, wacky lists where it's like, well, if I do this and this and this, then this amazing thing happens and I win, right? They're the ones who will tend to pull these outrageous, fifth dimensional chess plays, because what they're on about is showing that they are smart, and this is an expression of that intelligence, right? Now, if they manage to do that and still lose, a pure Johnny doesn't care, right? If their combo or their strategy or their thing worked, but it still didn't result in a victory, Johnny still feels pretty good about that because he got to do his thing.
It's almost orky in a way.
To a point, yes. All right, gentlemen, my wife is home again with some groceries. I got to go help her. But now there's plenty of people to talk, so carry on.
Yeah. I also had Lore Master Sotek join us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Doing good.
I didn't realize that I am a Johnny. I thought I was a Timmy. I like doing this is something I came up with myself. I hopefully I'll win. I'm the one who didn't invent it, but I thought of this myself. And it usually does one trick. And if it doesn't do that, I'm still happy that I got to present myself. And be like, I'm just want to experience the fun. Okay. What's up, Lord Master?
Not too much. Just got home from walking the dog and getting some exercise.
Excellent.
Cool. What are you working on?
Right now, I am working on a script for a video I've got coming out about some Total War Warhammer changes and potential updates. And then, but model-wise, I think I'm going to start working on Lady Ollander.
Hey.
And how about you, Greg?
I'm working on the Hoda for my Leviathan.
Oh, that's right.
Kick him out, Doug.
Yep. Hey, I have a question. Are the snakes still a thing in Seraphon?
Snakes?
Yeah, like, are they a unit?
No,
there's no serpent swarm. No.
Okay. Cool.
Do they come with snakes?
Yeah, some of the Dino Riders have these little snake swarms at the bottom.
Well, if you get a Bastillodon and choose to build the Ark of Sotek, don't. But if you do, you can put it on place.
Yeah. Okay.
Snakes. Why did it have to be
Man,
snakes?
I could see the Ark of Sotek being good if it just wasn't a 3-inch range. Like it's like
Wait, it's a 3-inch range gun.
Well, it's a melee attack technically.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great for a melee.
Yeah, but it's not because that you have to get the Bastillodon so close for it to do anything.
It's tough. They have that 1-up save, which with the current rules, it does, so I think so. How does it work? Rerolls happen after Rend or before Rend? Anyway, the 1-up save is really good, and so you would think that yeah, it's hard to explain, but the way the rules are worded now, that 1-up save is almost.
You only get it for 2 wounds though.
Yeah.
That degenerating save makes me so sad on the Bastillodon.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I kind of dig it. Once you start chipping it away, it gets easier and easier. I like that. I understand why it's not great, but I like it.
Maybe you just want
thematically it's cool, but from a competitive standpoint, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe just have the range be a little wider before it starts being not 1+.
Yeah, we could do that. Could always change the charts. So
I will say though, I am super glad they brought back the old Lizardman poison rules for Seraphon. I love that we have poison again.
Yeah, I think the book definitely bridged the gap between new Seraphon players and old Seraphon players.
Yeah.
There's some people who love with them being memories and can teleport around.
Yeah,
that's one of their old Lizardmen.
Yeah, the new book, it has so many old rules in it. It's nuts.
Yeah, what was the one that Brent was excited about, Jack? Was it Terrorize?
Yeah, there's a lot of old school Easter eggs, just terror, the old wording. Just when KO came out, they had the fly high rule. That brings me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
Because 4th edition, you can fly high, you remove the model from the board, then it comes down next turn, anywhere it wants to.
I dig it. Let's see. 1, 2, 4, 5, okay.
Hey, Greg, I don't think I've ever heard your Warhammer story. Did you play fantasy back in the day?
Oh yeah, I did. So I got into 40K around 1993.
Oh wow!
And we played that for maybe a year, and then my high school old buddies, got into fantasy battles, and we played both pretty religiously for several years. I had an Empire army and a Chaos army, and an Orc army. Back in 2nd edition.
Oh, 2nd edition! Wow.
I think it was 2nd edition.
No, 2nd edition was in the 80s, so that was probably 4th edition. But
maybe it was 4th, yeah.
40K.
Oh, right, sorry. 2nd edition 40K, probably 4th edition fantasy battles.
Yeah, 4th edition was 1992.
Yeah. That's
Do you still own any of that stuff, Greg?
I do. Well, I got rid of most of it, but I've got this bag of old Empire, there was this cart that had the long gunner in it, the War Wagon.
War Wagon, yeah.
Yeah, I still have that laying around somewhere.
And let's bring the worlds together. They just added the War Wagon, I think, late last year to Warhammer Total War, and so that's it's cool seeing it back in there.
Yeah, they were really digging deep for that DLC.
Yeah, I had a steam tank that was made out of metal. Everything was metal, or the plastic halberdiers, the monopose plastic halberdiers.
Oh yeah, definitely. You see those everywhere.
Yep.
I remember I used to hate classic models. It was the dwarf clansman with a really short beard.
Yep.
I'm like, no way. I'm not sure, Vince, if you know Lore Master Turkek. He is a Total War YouTuber who just getting into AOS recently. So he's trying to cross that bridge.
Very nice. Well, yes, it's good to meet you in person. Obviously, I know you from watching Doug's past videos.
Oh yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah. That's me. Bridging the gaps, crushing down those walls.
Bringing
Love
people
it.
together.
Exactly.
Doug, the matchmaker, to up top.
Yep. That's me. All right. So I'm cranking out these last 10 swords that I have. I also have 30 guard.
Ooh.
Quite a lot of guard.
Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't realize at the time that they came in box like increments of 15, which I think is really weird, but I was like, oh.
Is that a holdover from Fantasy Battles? Because, like, the Chaos Warriors come in boxes of 16. It's like, that's just so bizarre to me.
Man, well, yeah, for 16, that would have been 6th edition. Because 6th edition, you could have models only four wide for a rank.
Oh.
So for 16 models, you'd have a whole block.
Yep.
I
Okay.
do miss the old size. Like, I don't miss anything about rank and flank. No offense to anyone here. But I when I look at it, I do love, because I have all my... I went out and made sure I got all the rule books from back to 4th edition. So I have every army book that was released 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
Oh.
And looking at the back of the 4th edition and 5th edition books and looking at, like, what was your 1,750 point army is one of my favorite things in the world, because it'll be like, here's your army, it's 21 people. You know, or like the big unit you've got, your big block is like, that's a 20 pack. Like, whoa, this is a horde army.
This guy's,
20 guys
yeah.
in a block.
When it all costs spamming this guy.
Mhm.
What edition did it blow up? Where it's like all of a sudden you have hundreds of models.
What edition did that happen?
Yeah.
It was a slow boil. Like, the biggest change was 5th to 6th. 5th to 6th was a big marker. When they came out with Rampaging Hordes there at the launch of 6th, they really changed a lot of the expectations about the game, and then that was rolled into the army books. But it happened slowly. Like, it was a boil the frog thing. That was the biggest single moment. But then, especially as you got into 7th and 8th, and you got into, like, the abilities of hordes to have all sorts of bonuses, like they would still test on their base bravery, you know, even if they had a bunch of losses and stuff. Like, it.
Oh, I hated that rule.
Sure, I mean, like, it was just
So
something that,
bad.
like, yeah, they'd always kind of had little hints at that. Like, I remember in 5th edition there was a rule that if you caused fear and you beat an enemy unit that wasn't immune to your fear, right,
ran
and you
away.
outnumbered them, you broke them immediately. Like, they didn't make a check, they just ran. Which led to the Skaven cheese builds I would use with Skaven slaves. When in that time when I said 20 was a big block, you could put 70 Skaven slaves in a block, or 75, because they were seriously so cheap. They were the cheapest model in the game. And then you would just make your entire front rank like a warlord, a banner bearer, and 2 hidden assassins who would pop out and just shred the front of the enemy unit. And then there was no step up and fight back, so you'd automatically win, and then you'd break their unit because you outnumbered them because you had 75 guys behind you.
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember that. I remember those days.
You have something that make you cause fear?
Yeah, there was a banner called like the banner of the Horned Rat that made you cause fear. That's why the army, but it had to be the army standard bearer having it, because it was like a 100-point banner or 75-point banner. It was something too expensive for our normal standard bearer to have. Oh, all those fun picadillos that I am so glad got shot in the head.
Calm down, Spike.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's me, whack to the core. That's right. I mean, if you look at the history of what I'm playing here, you know, I don't know. Played Slanesh for an awful long time, was playing some Daughters before that. I must be a cheater.
Yep.
Nothing else to be said.
I love my cheaty armies. I play Deepkin, and I love it that I can give Alternus all the command points just to wreak havoc on turn 3. That's the only way I have any way of even possibly winning the game, because I'm not a particularly good player.
like with anything, like, so out of the rerolling ones, guys, I play the most. I don't think I exercise that part of my brain.
I will help Jack with his modesty. He is by far the best player.
Well, like,
Whoa. I'm just kidding.
I go to tournaments. I do all this stuff. I have my time is free, and so like my biggest problem is like every game Shu and Brent play, people see, and so like it's just like that. Probably I want to get more practice games in there, or like with you as well, Greg. It's like you'll get better if you play. That's the only way you're gonna get better. Like with anything, the one way I got better at paintbrushing was painting with it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to get more games in. It's like when my first game with Shu was off camera. I played maybe 4 or 5 games of AOS before my first battle report on Rerolling 1. And I'm not saying that I know the rules backwards and forwards, but I have definitely progressed in my rules.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the game's gotten more difficult over its existence. Like they've added more and more and more. It's not the hardest game, but it's definitely harder than it was.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It certainly has there's just a lot you have to consider when like making a list and doing all this stuff. Once your army is good to go, it's not as bad.
Right.
But like I pity someone that's getting into the hobby for the first time and they get like Seraphon or something. And you have to read like all the war scrolls and consider all the different combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Like every unit having its own rules is nuts.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
I got a Warhammer fan question real quick. Were there in like 8th edition and 7th edition, were there War Scroll battalions, or is that a purely new AOS thing?
That's AOS only.
Okay.
They never had them? Because I know in 40k they did towards the end of last edition.
No, in fantasy, you just had to fill up like having enough core points, and then they would put a maximum on how much you could spend on like rare and special lords and heroes. But like the only thing remotely similar to a battalion is that some special characters would change what unit fell in what category. So like in older fantasy, if you took Krokgar, he would make Cold One Riders count as core instead of special. But that was really the only time you would. But other than that, no, because it was all just points based, not like allotment based.
Right. There was, if you go back far enough, you get to where, so what Sotex put in a finger on there is when they went to the more quote unquote like balance system where it was like 25% of your total army must be core and this kind of thing, right? Keep in mind, if you go back into the old editions, it was numbers of units, it was slots, right? So like, much like kind of what some 40k kind of has now in the detachments.
Yep.
Where you would have to have like, you could have one lord character if you played at this, and you could have 3 heroes because there was a distinction between lords and heroes, right? And you had to have at least 2 core troops, I think is what they were called, or whatever, I don't even remember now, but and so on and so forth, right? So that felt more like our current structure. Like honestly, AOS is more of a return to the older editions because they're, your 2 core or 3 core or whatever you had to have might have been like 500 points or 200 points or 1,000 points, depending on the army, right? Whereas when you have to spend 25% of your army on core and you're playing 2,000 point games, guess what? It's 500 points, right? Like there you go. I will also say that the idea of sub-factions, which is the other thing. I mean, I know you asked about battalions, but sub-factions.
Yeah.
So like, chambers and stuff like that. We all know what I mean, right? Hagnar and everything else. That's certainly not a new concept. Yeah, Stormhost. If you go back to like 6th edition, one of my favorite things they did was print sub-faction rules in the back of the book where it changed the entire build of the army, much like what happens now. So like you could have the artillery train of Nuln, where now it had completely different army building requirements, and Pistoliers and Outriders became your core troops, and you could have more steam tanks, and you could have more cannons and stuff like that, right? So those are very much an expansion of that idea, which was my favorite thing that they got rid of it in later editions that I was so happy to see come back in AOS.
Yeah, that was a bummer when they cut those out going into 7th and 8th. I remember when you played Lizardmen in 6th edition, you could run Southlands Lizardmen, which was nuts. Southlands Lizardmen were super broken if someone was playing dirty, because they would just run like 1,000 skinks with short bows.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And it was like, everybody would hate that guy.
I remember that guy.
Was it just a Cunninruck style, like just fishing for sixes with weighted dice kind of thing.
Well, like fishing for sixes with hundreds of dice, but
Right.
back then there were really goofy rules about charging where it's like, oh, I declare a charge, and then he would flee, but you could only redirect once, so he would layer his skinks so that eventually it would be an impossible charge. You just couldn't charge because there was another unit blocking the way to the unit you were trying to get to,
Right.
but you could only redirect twice. It was called double fleeing, and it was toxic.
I completely agree with the lore master on this one. He speaks truth.
I sometimes miss the ignorance I had as a kid playing Warhammer.
Yep.
Like,
Sure.
put stuff down and walk forward, and then the internet just turned everything up to 11. There's you get people dissect and like get into it. Like, what is the best thing? And I just miss the ignorance. That's why it's fun playing on the channel because we don't try to do what is the best. We kind of just like, hey, this should be fun.
I thought you were gonna say because we are ignorant, and I was like,
In that case, he's not wrong.
You can't take the obvious answer.
Right.
What's that?
Facts.
Matrix. Ignorance is bliss. Put me back in the machine. Plug me back in. I want to remember nothing.
Blue pill. Is it the blue pill or the red pill?
Red was to get out. Yeah.
Right.
How are y'all's hobby communities holding up locally?
Well, like we had so rerolling ones is we're not getting together for shooting stuff right now because Shu and Brent both have older parents, and so just they want to kind of quarantine. But we have 3 kind of videos in the